It's become trendy to make these red pill is dying type of videos, the red pill is dead type of videos. And I wanted to give me a little response because, first and foremost, the red pill will never die. It doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. It doesn't matter whether you want to contend with it or not. It doesn't matter. The red pill will never die. First, because women keep proving it right. I mean, that's just what it is today. And second of all, because we literally keep moving closer and closer to a postmodern culture, and there's nothing that is stopping that march. It's transitionary. It's it's a mode of consciousness. It's a journey. It's more akin to this. It's a phase. I don't know about you, but I had a skater boy phase growing up. I had an emo phase. I really, really loved Linkin Park. Look, I'm not here to advocate for the red pill, but I think it's best that we actually understand where the fuck it's coming from and then where it goes. Okay? It's a privilege to go through this journey. It's a privilege to not have to go through this journey either. And I say this in the spirit of how Nietzsche describes the religious and the irreligious impression of nature. He says here, a true believer must be to us an object of veneration, but the same holds good of a true, sincere, convinced unbeliever. With men of the latter stamp, we are near to the high mountains where mighty rivers have their source, and with believers, we are under vigorous, shady, restful trees. Like Christianity pushes this mass conformity upon you. Pretty much anything outside of that mode of consciousness makes you red pill these days, especially if you have hard takes on women. That's like one of the most defining features. It's more like a rites of passage in this respect, in this and how I regard it. How you would move in the world, you tack, you change course. Right? With Alan Watts, he describes it, why move against the river? You're just gonna exude an exorbitant amount of energy. So you tack, use the river to your advantage. The whole connotation with red pill is from the Matrix, right? When he either he takes the blue pill, which I think is that like Hobbit, fairyland, Jesus version of Christianity, which is to me there's a point of like not it's not ignorance, more so ignorance. And Alan Watts used that all the time, and I love that phrase. It's not so much that you're ignorant, you're now willingly ignoring something that was presented to you and try to shoehorn it back into I feel like I'm a modern man. Try to shoehorn it back into a very, very, you know, I would say it's very outdated, but I use this freely as because I do think that one grows out of it, but then you look back on it in appreciation in where it was originally meant to do and what it was. Right? When Neo takes the red pill, he gets the shit kicked out of him. Right? It sickens him to his stomach. He can't handle it. He goes a little batshit insane. Right? But eventually, he adopts the skills. He learns kung fu. He learns how to use the weapons. He understands reality. He accepts it, and then he goes back into the matrix as the one to save it or to reset it. I don't know. Basically, there's a union. This reminds me about what Alan Watts had described as the Zen experience. It's almost like akin to this. The way Alan Watts described this experience was before one studies Zen, mountains are mountains, waters are waters. After a first glimpse into the truth of Zen, mountains are no longer mountains and waters are no longer waters. After enlightenment, mountains are once again mountains and waters are once again waters. Right? There's a there's a journey outside of what was the known world into the unknown. Nothing makes sense anymore. Everything is not what it seems. And then when you start to see, assimilate, finally it's like everything kind of calms, and now once again, mountains are mountains, waters are waters. Through T.S. Eliot and his four quartets, right? We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. The restful shady trees, which was the sincere Christian believer, the journey outside of that helps you to appreciate where you started from, those humble beginnings, those roots, what it stood for by contrast. And you can see this by traveling too. Like if you ever had the privilege to travel, I know I've seen this when I go to Ecuador, right? It's just it's basically a third to second world country, and you come back and I forget how like modern, like because I live in it for so long, I just get so used to it. I forget how modern we actually are in America. We're not like Hong Kong or Shanghai, like we're not Tokyo modern. We're not there yet, but we are moving so fast to that this is why the red pill will never die. It's gonna be born again, it's gonna be resurrected over and over again in many young men, and they either grow eventually they grow out of it, eventually some just get stuck in it, but I do think the goal is to grow out of it. And nonetheless, some of them are just gonna reject it altogether, and that's cool. That's cool. That's how we know each other. That's how we know ourselves, through our choices, through our actions, through our that's how we all have our own identity. And so you can see this process again with Faust in von Goeth's Faust, Wolf von Goeth's Faust. Am I saying that right? Faust. All right, so the idea is simple, like simple consciousness, complex consciousness, and then finally an enlightened state. I think that the red pill is complex consciousness. It's not meant to. You're not meant to stay there. This is the tragedy consciousness. This is the tragic consciousness. And I think the best way to put it is that it's two dimensional. Simple consciousness is two dimensional. It's black and white. And by that, what I mean is it's good or evil, right? It's Don Quixote with Sanchez and I think his buddy's name is Pablo, right? One lives his world by showing his emotions. He acts out everything. He can't help himself. That's the duality of simple and black and white consciousness. One is intrinsic, reserved. One has reality flow within him. He's thoughtful. He takes his time. Everything is internalized. There's a reality that lives within. So when you look at him, you can't really tell what's really going on. But you have the one who starts attacking the windmills. He lives on the outside. What you see is exactly what you're getting, right? He has no problem showing you the inside is the outside. They're one for one. And third dimensional consciousness is Hamlet. This is the sophisticated man. He has been red pilled, but he gets stuck in red pill territory. That's how I would see. I consider that to be the case. Hamlet is red pilled, and he is a tragic hero because what winds up happening is that he can't make a decision beyond himself. This was Nietzsche's beef with Christianity, especially in the Antichrist. He saw Christianity as more or less this. There were a lot of otherwise great poets and thinkers. He thought that they 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 were tainted. They were defeated, conquered by Christianity because these great poets would wrestle with their soul, they would wrestle with their morality, and then eventually by the end of the career or whatever, they would just they would basically do the leap of faith and throw their hands up and say, I believe in Christ, all this other jazz. And he believed that to have been a shame, because otherwise it was the very wrestling and the very contending with it being a unique individual that made them special in the first place and stopped their great work short of what he thought their potential was. And you can see this. There's like a little bit of like a herd communal. The church body to be extremely feminized at this point in time. But then we get to the enlightened state, which I think is false. So where Hamlet tragically uh, couldn't make a decision, he couldn't actually save his. I think it was one of his family members from his uncle, his evil uncle, because he was stuck between good and evil. Faust Faust integrates his shadow and makes that choice, that defining choice beyond himself. He finds essentially like a fourth dimension.
It's a rotating, three-dimensional cube, and we are quite used to these perspective distortions. But now we go to force space. We change our perspective, and we proceed to walk around that four-dimensional cube. As we walk around, we see each of the 8 cubical faces as the smallest cube when it's furthest away, or the closest cube when it's largest. This is not a three-dimensional creature swimming through itself. It is the shadows of a rotating four-dimensional cube. This is the best rotation, with the red cube now largest, now flattened out, now turned inside out as the smallest furthest away cube. And if we become comfortable with rotations, every once in a while we see a rotation which confuses us once more. Rotating directly toward us and away from us, we find another very strange view of the rotating four-dimensional cube in perspective.
Don Quixote is two-dimensional man, Hamlet is three-dimensional man, and Faust is four-dimensional man. And if you ever seen like Interstellar, the four dimensions, the tesseract, this is a beautiful. I would love for you to like look at this, how the tesseract moves. Four-dimensional man, it seems to be it's a the best scientific way to really understand what perspective is outside of yourself, because this is kind of what it is. It's practically looking at yourself from the third person. This is, I think, the enlightened state. But otherwise speaking, the red pill will never fucking die, guys. It will never die, right? It's a milestone. It is what it is. Only I would also just suggest and advocate. It is good to know. It is a good thing to know. That way you can navigate accordingly, properly. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. Let me know what you think. I'll see you on the other side. I know this one got a little nerdy. Not bad. Deuces.